Good evening and welcome to the first week of the school. This is going to be one of two videos that we post this week for math. In math this week we're going to primarily be dealing with place value, and we have two different concepts we're going to be looking at. This is the video for the first concept, which is going to be expressing numbers in a variety of different manners. We're also going to post a second video that will show strategies to compare and order whole numbers. So we're going to start off by looking at and reviewing a little bit of place value from third grade. And I have on my screen here a 6-digit number. So in fourth grade we're going to be responsible at looking at the place values from hundred thousands all the way down to the ones. So again, total of 6 different digits. The main thing that you want to keep in mind, the biggest difference between the digits, is that as you move from the right to the left, every place value, every space you go over, it's 10 times greater than the next one. So if you have a set of ones, it takes 10 times the number of ones to make a 10. Or think about it like this. If you have 10 $1 bills, you actually have $10. Or if you were going to go one more place value, if you had 10 $10 bills, you would have 100. So again, the difference between these is they're times 10 as you go to the left. So the ones is times 10 gets you a 10, 10 times 10 gets you 100, 100 times 10 gets you 1,000, 1,000 times 10 gets you a 10,000, and a 10,000 times 10 gets you 100,000. So that's the space between them. There's a couple other words that we want to look at. Again, this is our main thing that we're going to work on here to begin the week, is going to be expressing the numbers that we write in a variety of different manners. So there's actually 3 primary ways we want to look at expressing our numbers. So the way most people look at numbers, which would be this number here, something called numeral form, which is where you're just writing it with the traditional numbers. So that number that you see right there is 7,653. The word form is obviously just that same number, but you're turning it into words. Some people like putting the commas in like this. It doesn't matter so much on numeral form, but with word form, if you're going to be a stickler, it actually kind of does matter, and it's kind of a good habit to get into. And then one of the other tricky ways is expanded form, which is where you're basically taking the number and you are writing it as a giant addition problem. Okay, so we're going to look at a number here in a minute, and we're going to write it in all 3 different forms that we're looking at. So we're going to start off with numeral form, and since we're doing a we're responsible for 100,000 number, we're actually going to look and make 100,000 number and then make all 3 forms: a numeral form, a word form, and an expanded form. So looking at my board here again, I'm just going to quickly put down a 6-digit number, and I'll keep things simple and do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably not the most original number. So this number as a number is 234,567. So this is, again, the numeral form. Okay? Now, as you go into writing it into word form, okay, remember that since we're responsible for 6 digits, these place values here on the left, they're going to be the thousands, and this is going to be your hundreds, tens, and ones. So how I like to think of the thousands place values, because that's the trickiest part when you're doing the word form and expanded form, is I like to think about it as covering up this, the hundreds, the tens, and the ones, and just writing that part down first. So the number I actually see when I cover it up is 234. So I'm going to write down, as I write down my number, in word form, I'm just going to write the number I see first. So I'm going to put 234, like that. I'm kind of run out of room. And then what I'm going to do is, since this is the thousands place, I'm going to add that word at the end of it. So again, I'm kind of chunking the number down into pieces. So I have my 234. Again, I covered up the first. I wrote the number I saw, 234, added the word thousand, and then I'm going to put a comma down. It's really important, and we'll get to this later in 4th grade, that you don't use the word and. The word and is actually going to represent a decimal and place value later in the year, which means that if you wrote the word and here, you would actually be writing part of a number and not a whole number, which we don't want to do. But that's complicated at the moment, so we'll move on. So this other part then, the 567, you're just going to, again, you can ignore the thousands and just look at that part, and you're just going to write that down. So down here then, I'm going to go ahead and write that. So I'm going to put 567, just like that. So this ends up being my word form, 234,567. And sometimes, just to check myself, what I like to do is above the number that I wrote in word form, sometimes I'll just write the number really small. So that's a 200. That's really not a number. All right, I got a 34, like that. Okay, and then 1,000. That's not a number, that's a word. And then here I have a 5. And then I have the number 67. So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's kind of how I check my word form. Okay, my last one is expanded form. And with expanded form, what you're doing is, again, you're writing it as a giant addition problem. So the one that was on my screen a minute ago, as that focuses in, you had 7,000. You put 7,000, 600, 600, 550, 50, and then the 3 and the 3. So what I do is I go left to right as I write it. So I'm going to do the 200,000 first. So I'm just going to put the 2, and then I'm going to count the digits behind it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And make sure I have the right number of zeros, which I have 5. And 5, and then I'm going to put my plus sign. I'm going to go to the next digit then, which is the 3, and after I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put 4 zeros, like that. Again, another plus. This time I have a 4, and I have 1, 2, 3 digits. Okay, again a plus sign, a 5, and 2 digits behind it. So I put my 2 zeros, a 6, with 1 digit, and then the 7. So I end up with this number as my expanded form, and again, if I want to look at it and recheck it, I can go through and I can just put the beginning numbers in order. So I have a 2, followed by a 3, followed by a 4, followed by a 5, followed by a 6, followed by a 7. So it should look just like that. So these are the 3 different ways we're going to express our numbers, and we will be working with these throughout the week. Thank you.